Fields of silence where heroes lie underneath the quiet sky. They gave their all so we could stay, standing free on this Memorial Day. Their stories whisper through the trees, sacred echoes in the breeze. A cry of courage that the battle's soul, so we remember they're not alone. We honor the brave who gave it all, answered the duty, answered the call. The light won't fade, the spirit remains, today and always. Remember the names. Remember their names.
Welcome to HomeFront Sitrep. I hope you're in for a great show today, because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out HomeFront Sitrep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting.
Mic in hand, ready for deployment. Podcast feels heavy as the ointment. Veteran tales straight from the trenches. Pop culture splices, pulling down the fences. Homefront Sitrep, stories that collide. Veterans speaking truth, no reason to hide. Gritty and raw podcasts on replay, decoding the past, paving the way. War zone whispers, bullets and bombs. Back to civilian ticking like a time bomb. Medals on the mantle, scars on the mind. Every episode another mystery to find. Homefront Sitrep, voices from the fight. Veterans sharing dark, stepping into light. Real life saga, not some fairy tale. Truth and resilience, never gonna fail. Homefront Sitrep, stories that collide. Veterans speaking truth, no reason to hide. Gritty and raw podcast on replay, decoding the past, paving the way. War zone whispers, bullets and bombs. Back to civilian ticking like a time bomb. Medals on the mantle, scars on the mind. Every episode another mystery to find. Legacy 11X, story of Marines. Army anecdotes, Gulf War scenes. Vietnam echoes, Desert Storm sounds. Podcast chronicles, glory and bounds. Homefront Sitrep, honesty is core. Veterans laying bare what they endure. From the front lines to the homebound grief. Episodes of grit, grind through the grief.
Welcome everybody to a Monday edition of Homefront Sitrep. How is everybody doing on this Memorial Day? Gunny, how are you, sir?
Reflecting, man. Reflecting on a lot, remembering the 25 guys we lost in 0506 from 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines. A guy that I served with on recruiting duty, that his unit actually replaced 3-8 in 05. And, he was killed in October. And then a guy I served with at VMMT 204 who was killed in Afghanistan in 2000, I think 10 or 11. And then, the 19 guys from the Battle of Mogadishu, the hundreds and I'd say hundreds, probably thousands of, families that I've met over the course of the last, 15 years since I've been retired, at the Gold Star families, and, learning of their loved ones. And even though I never met them, them sharing the stories of their loved one, to that way, they don't die that second time, and then of course, all the guys that, are no longer here because they lost their battle at home. So yeah, I mean, it's, even though the last Monday of May is set aside for Memorial Day, dude, every day in the Deeds house is Memorial Day. It's hard to go on and forget, the guys that I served with or I became friends with later that are no longer here.
Yeah, as long as we remember their name and say their name, their memories will never be forgotten. Over the course of 20 years of doing, veteran charity work and meeting veterans, and then, them losing their battles to the demons, and then people that we served with when we were in 2-8, and um, just all the people that came before us and all the people that came after us, that's why we remember them on this day.
Yeah.
Of course, like you said, we supposed to remember them every day, and as long as we say their name, we never forget them, and their memories never lost. So yeah, man, it's been one of those days. Everybody gets together and they celebrate today, um, but it's different when they're out celebrating because they don't understand. But when you get a group of people together, like first responders and veterans, we celebrate their life there when we're all together. But it
Yeah,
is
I
what it
think
is.
it's that. I don't think it's that they don't understand. I just think that it's become forgotten, right? So, and I gave my speech last week out at Tyson, and the biggest thing that a lot of them took away was, when I started reading dates of, guys that were killed in Iraq, and it's not just May, right? It's February, March, April, June, July, August, September, October, right? So every month, and then you put the day to it, right? And if those guys and girls were here, dude, they'd be having a cold one, they'd be firing up the grill, they'd be doing everything.
Oh
But
yeah,
I guarantee the one thing they wouldn't do is forget about the guys and girls that they served with that aren't here anymore. And it's become so commercialized with the sales and everything else that's going on. The pool's opening up, school's over, first day of summer, baseball, this, that, and the other. But you look at the major league sports right now, and they take a moment of silence during the game. Doesn't matter if it's in the middle of the inning, the beginning of the game, whatever. They stop and they reflect. NASCAR last night, I think it's the end of stage 1 or the end of stage 2. They bring all the cars down pit road and stop them, shut the engines off, and they have a moment of silence during the middle of the race. So I mean, there's a lot of people out there that don't forget.
yeah, yeah, and I think people nowadays, I think it's more prevalent now than it used to be, uh, and I think it was so many people, saying, "Hey, Veterans Days for veterans. Memorial Day is the day of remembrance." And I think people putting that out there.
Yeah.
I think that's what maybe it's turned it around. But
Well, and there's no conflict going on right now, right? So it's not at the forefront anymore like it was for 20 years with Afghanistan and 18 years with Iraq. So you got to look at that too. And people are busy, man, and that's what it is. It's people are more busy now than they have been in the past. And I don't think that it's forgotten about. I just think it's just at the back of everybody's mind, and that's the bad thing about it. But
yeah, definitely. So tonight we got a special guest coming on. We got Mr. Ricoh Danielson, who's a Army veteran, combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, digital forensics expert in cell phone forensics for high-profile criminal and civil cases. He's got all kinds of things that he does. A podcast host and a whole other plethora of things that we're going to let him talk about. So we're super excited to have him come on. Um, I think we're ready. You think we're ready to bring him on?
yeah, absolutely.
Let's do that. Let's bring him up. So let's do this. Let's bring him here. There we go. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Good. Rock and roll, man. How are you guys?
Good,
Yeah.
man.
We're hanging in there, my brother. Hanging in there.
That is very
Welcome
interesting
to
summer day.
welcome to HomeFront Sitrep. Thank you for spending time with us on this Memorial Day. Do me a favor and introduce yourself to the world of HomeFront Sitrep, if you don't mind.
Sure, no problem. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's very much of an honor to be here. So thank you guys, and also on this special day. So thank you. I'm very, very honored. My name is Ricoh Danielson. I'm a U.S. Army combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, and also other tours as well, and other rotations. Enlisted in 2002. As soon as I got to my first unit, deployed 2 weeks later, hit the ground running. I remember getting the ugly DCUs. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, these are ugly. That tour was very sobering as a young man. I mean, you hit the ground running, and being part of 3rd ACR and 2-5 as well, like in Ramadi, in Fallujah, Anbar province, sharing the huge base over there with the Marines. One of our helicopters got shot down, and the CAV and also us, we all lost about 27 men that day. And then also I lost a good friend of mine, Specialist Nevaeh. He and I swapped out. I got sick, and I was going to be running the gunner. I was going to be the gunner on top, and we swapped out. As soon as he left the fucking gate, heads pops off just because he got an IED and me, right? And then we go on and, more, come back home. And I was like, hey, because I actually, but nobody realizes this, like I actually enlisted as a 92 Golf. I want to be like a fueler guy. I just wanted to go, right? And then I was like, I'd take the first thing smoking. They're like, well, you're dumb. Come on, let's go, son. And I was like, perfect. I reclassed. I got my ASVAB score, my GT score up. And then I was like, yeah, I want to go to the infantry. This is what I want to do. This is just what I want to do. Went back with other 158 and Echo 258 and great guys, right? And then after that, went to this thing called WIPS, Worldwide Protection Services. Some of them known as Blackwater as well. We supported them. And then that's when I think I've gotten more trigger time being a private security operator, OGA operator, like the stuff that it never makes it on the news. On the side of a road in between Najaf and Najaf and Kuwait, and you're just getting some, and it's you and like 10 Gurkhas. So after that, I was like, hey, I think it's time. I had this inkling. I was like, hey, I kind of want to go to school, guys. And you talk to your teammates, and you got some big alpha guys, and they're like, what the fuck? What are you talking about, man? And I was like, yeah, I want to go to law school. And they're like, no, this is what we do. I'm like, I get it, guys. I get it. I mean, we're all 250 pound, 300 pound gorillas, and, charging the hill and all, getting some, and going to Thailand, going to wherever in between. And it's like, I was like, hey, there's got to be something different, gentlemen. And I made after that, I was doing, gigs and whatnot. I was starting to get more and more very precise, operations, like, hey, go protect this district governor over here. You're protecting the voting election boxes over here. We want you to sit on this project over here to make sure the Taliban is fighting the right Taliban. You're like, okay, what's going on here? So like, it started getting very interesting in 2011, 12. After my bachelor's, I was like, hey, I want to go to law school. So I signed up, and then I took projects in between, but they were more in Central America, like Jalisco, Mexico, training the police. The funny part about that is that we trained them. We met the cartel, and we said, please, for the love of God, do not get in a firefight with them. I leave, they get in a firefight with them, they get smoked. And like, hey, do you want to come back and train us? I was like, absolutely not. So finished law school. 2014, I was like, hey, I need to make some money. And there was a pump over there in Afghanistan, in Sangin, and also Kajaki, Nole. And there was very few operators who went over there. I was like, I'm going to go get some one last time. And I want to make some money because I want to go back, have some money for my legal case for my son. Needless to say, I lost that case. I came back with a bullet wound in the back, and I was like, hey, I think I'm done. I think I'm done, guys. And every day till this day, no matter how successful I am, no matter what I do, my old teammates are like, so how's that law degree working out for you, bro? I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
I just kind of laugh, like, I always tell my dear friend Maestro, I was like, don't get it twisted, man. There's still a civil bad gorilla in here. Bet your ass, man. But yeah, I always get the phone call. There's one guy I will refuse to answer his phone calls because I know better, because it's going to be like, pack your shit, let's go. And I'm like, I'm good. I I hate to say that. I don't hate to say this. I love my wife, right? I love her so much, and I'm like, I don't want to put her through that.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. So
Yeah, I mean, so I married my wife just as I came off recruiting duty, and then rotated back to operational forces, and the unit I went to had already deployed to Haiti in 2004 for civil unrest, right? So peacemaking to peacekeeping to humanitarian, and I want to say 10 days after, they're like, oh, by the way, you're going back to Haiti. You've been there once. You got good knowledge of the area. I'm like, bro, it's a third world country. Do you really think it's going to be the same when I was there 5 years ago? They're like, can't be that much different. Man, so wrong. I mean, so much stuff had changed, right? And then it was, training cycle after training cycle after training cycle, deployed to Iraq, get blown up twice, come home, all within a year before my 1 year anniversary. And then I'm home, and she's like, you got to find something. I don't like this, right? So, I mean, it's the same thing, right? So, she's been with you for a while now, you want to go back. You're like, nah, I don't need to put you through that.
Please tell me who the F was a sniper in 2010 who shot at me in Haiti, because I was there and I was trying to get through, trying to pass the embassy, and all I hear is just a crack. And I'm like, son of a bitch. And I was like, and I come out, I was like, oh, American, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I got called back for that one. And I was going through the traumatic brain injury study in San Antonio. And I'm like, find somebody else, or you can call the SecDef and tell me you're pulling me out of his study. And they're like, nah, we'll find somebody else. Okay. So that I cannot answer that because I wasn't there.
Perfect.
Yeah, he wasn't there in 2010.
That was a short-lived trip in Haiti, man. I was there for the earthquake, for both of the massive earthquakes, for the humanitarian aid, and doing body recovery, rescue recovery, and I never wish that upon anybody ever again.
Yeah, no.
I was there with Gunny the first time. Was that 99?
99.
We were there. And man, let me tell you, that was an eye-opening experience for somebody who's 18, 19 years old, fresh out of the United States for the first time, to go there and see that. I still have nightmares and tremors from there. Just the stuff that we seen. I mean, it was just, and we were told we couldn't intervene with the Haitian on Haitian violence. Like we couldn't, we couldn't. And it was just like, it just, man, it blows your mind. Let me tell you.
We were there for the humanitarian security piece of it. So while the Navy and the Air Force were doing their humanitarian missions, we were their security. So if it wasn't directed towards U.S. personnel or pertinent gear, we couldn't do anything about it.
Same premise applied in the Congo, man. When I was there in Cameroon, not the Marines, but like when the United Nations were rolling around, or the MINUSTA, and I was like, guys, like this is wild. Like, at what point do we give it a go? And
yeah, we were told. Yeah, we were told, like when we were at the front gates or one of the security posts, where we had people, shooting over our tower, like they were shooting over us, and we were like, can we engage? And they're like, no. The only way you can engage,
it's got to impact.
It's got to impact you or your tower, and then you can engage. And it's just like, it's like, here the bullets are whizzing 5 feet over our tower, and it's just like, bro, that's awful close. But they're like, no, you can't unless it hits your tower or yourself, and it's just like, okay, what am I going to do when it hits me right between the eyes? It's just like, So you had to always have your head on a swivel, because down there they use women and children in the front. The guys were in the back, with the AKs underneath of their whatever they were wearing at the time, and small arms fire, like at 9mm AK, whatever they had. You never know when it was coming out, so we definitely had to keep our head on a swivel.
Yeah. So did you enlist right out of high school, or did you have a break in between?
No, actually, I had dropped out, got my GED, and I was like, hey, I just need, dude, it was like I had nowhere to live. And I remember this recruiter, the motherfucker, I swear, he was like, how bad do you want to go? And I was like, well, I want to do this. And he's like, okay, that's 6 weeks out. This I can get you on, I can get that thing tomorrow morning or the next night. I was like, sign me up.
Damn.
And I was like, oh, this is such a bullshit job. But yeah.
So I was kind of the same boat when I enlisted. I was a junior getting ready to become a senior, and I wanted infantry. They're like, yeah, we don't have it. I'm like, what do you mean the Marine Corps doesn't have infantry? What kind of stuff is this? Well, I became a recruiter later, and I realized that some jobs close and they're not available, right? And it depends on the month you're shipping to boot camp, depends on when your school starts and this, that, and the other, and backtracking and all this stuff. Yeah, I was like, you guys are full of it. This is BS. And then I become a recruiter. I'm like, bro, I can't put you in the infantry. Can't do it. We don't have any spots. For like 3 months, 6 months, no infantry. I was like, how am I going to tell all these guys that I'm an infantryman, right? In my secondary job as a recruiter, that I can't put them in the Marine Corps infantry. How do you tell young men this? It's like,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I didn't lie to any of the guys or girls that I put in, but I didn't tell them the full truth either, right? So I mean, they're like, "What's your everyday like?" Well, you're gonna polish, shit cans for an hour if you get yelled at by the first sergeant, right? I mean, they don't need to know the extra duty crap. But if it came up to boot camp, real life job, whatever, they all got the truth out of me. And why can't I get infantry? Well, here, this is the sheet. This tells me 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 for 6 months. If you want to wait until November, I can get you in, but I can do nothing now. Right. And that's for the entire recruiting station. That's not just for me.
Yeah.
That's for, we have 53 recruiters, I think, something like that.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I just, some of the things that you learn when you go on recruit duty or drill instructor duty or whatever, it's just like, oh, wow. I thought I knew the Marine Corps. Not really.
Yeah, we only know a little snippet of the Marine Corps, our little section of the Marine Corps. And when it comes to supportive services, it's just like you don't know nothing about them. That's like the cooks that we had when we first joined, the cooks at 2-8, they disappeared. Like they did away with the cook MOS. And, it's just like, how can they do away with the MOS? It's just like, bro.
Yeah, they had to go somewhere else or get out.
Yeah.
And then most of them went to the Army and became cooks in the Army.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a lot of things I learned, especially giving debriefs or briefings at the Perfect Palace in Iraq. I'll sit there with the G2 and whatnot, and I'm like, what do they do? What do they do? And then I started learning, and I was like, okay, in order for me to be a good section leader, platoon leader, or even like to run my own PSD team, these are the not only logistics, ops, intel, right? What's the trend line for warfare today? So stuff like that. Like then you combine all those, and then you become a good leader.
Yeah.
A lot of young men are like, I'm just going to lead a charge. I'm like, where are you leading the charge to, son?
Yeah. And who's your supporting elements? Who's to your right? Who's to your left? They just think it's here and not
here.
Right.
Got that tunnel vision. Yeah. So tell it, how did you get into digital forensics and stuff like that? How did you get into that?
Yeah, so when I was in law school, I was in San Diego. I was in Thomas Jefferson School of Law, really good law school. They were actually pioneers to lead online law school first, and man, they got a lot of flack. And I got this scholarship. I did not know this. One of the people was like a rear admiral, retired. And he's like, look, man, we got money. And I was like, all right. So come to find out the value of the education was about $270,000. I'm like, sweet. Wow. So I was very blessed, like just the stars lined up. And I was like, yes, cool. So I went there, got my education. And during law school, you're going to start learning procedural law. You start learning evidential hearing. And the one thing that nobody realized that you have prosecutors, you have defense and whatnot, but nobody ever represents the evidence because it is boring, right? And in that, I met a Secret Service guy, an FBI guy, and they're like, dude, this is the future. Like digital forensics and incident response is the future. Nobody's paying attention. If I were you, I'd shift. And then that week, I was like, I'm going to go take some courses to be a forensics expert. And I started doing that. I was literally dumping cell phones, kind of what I saw in Iraq and Afghanistan when we would do these raids. I was like, okay, you take the cell phone. All right, sir, here's the stuff. And the commander will make the decision right there, right? Same premise applies when it comes to law school. It was like, hey, here's the evidence. Here's the next hit. Here's where the cell tower. Started getting really good at that. I started doing like small little cases like hit and runs, drug deals and whatnot. Then I landed my first major case, which was a capital punishment death penalty case in Arizona. And it was Joey Matthews versus State. And we were trying to get him from a life sentence to from death row to life sentence. And we were able to do that. And by the displaying of digital evidence. And I was like, okay, there has to be something here then. And then I started digging into that a little bit more. Then I started getting even bigger cases, cyber stalking cases, wrongful persecution cases. Like I've helped a man who in Georgia, he spent 30 years behind jail for fake rape. And someone just called him, and I was like, Jesus Christ. So I pulled all this digital evidence, and I said, look, I'm not here to determine if he's guilty or not, but here's the evidence.
Yeah.
And he's a free man, you know, and like that's like 1 in 1,000. Okay.
Right.
And they just started going into that. And then, you know, I was like, there's a cyber element, right? Cybersecurity element. And then I started doing incident response, which is like responding to global cyber attacks, doing digital forensics for some big organizations, McDonald's, Wendy's, Chipotle, AT&T, like some of the big heavy hitting ones. And then I decided, I was like, hey, I'm really good at this. I get on the Kim Commando show. I get on Good Morning America. I was like, basis warrant here. I'm like, dude, I'm rocking it, right? I started giving his keynote speeches. I gave a keynote to the King of Jordan. And I was like, okay, so I'm onto something. And then I was like, hey, I'm just going to kind of do my own thing, and got into the ransom negotiation, cyber ransom negotiation, reverse malware, you know, infiltrating different threat acting gangs in the world and doing crypto reverse cryptoing. So yeah.
Heck yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and so I have friends that are in the federal law enforcement side that do the I guess the financial forensics and all that stuff too. And, you know, obviously, you know, me being a civilian, they don't go into it too far, but, you know, just give me what basically the down and skinny, right? Basically like you just did of, you know, the hows and the wheres and the whys. It's like, oh my Lord, you know, how do you even get roped into that to begin with? And then, you know, I mean, you just explained it, you know, these two guys, one from the FBI, one from the Secret Service, said, hey, this is where we're going. And, you know, you can see that, you know, all of our law enforcement agencies, federal law enforcement agencies, are going to the cyber side because that's where most of the crime is happening now, right? I mean, yeah, you still have your physical stuff that happens, but, you know, most of it's over here, right? You know, what we're doing right now is, you know, the FaceTimes and the Zooms and all that, and, you know, following the evidence that way.
Following the digital money that way.
Yeah.
I think not all, right? But I think right now, physical violent crimes come with a heavy sentence, right? And nobody's paying attention to the weight of cyber crimes, because I see people do cyber crimes and they're like, oh, I do 1 year and I'm out, or 1 to 5, 9, 10 serves type deal. And the punishment has not caught up to cyber crimes just yet, but it's going to.
Yeah. So my daughter, who's a senior in high school, has been in her career path has always been law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Her ultimate end goal is to be in one of the 3-letter agencies. She's going to EKU. She's doing she's doing criminal justice as her primary, and then she's doing digital forensics as her secondary.
Nice.
And then she wants to go into the Air Force and go that route, and then go into one of the 3-letter agencies afterwards. So I definitely might have her pick your brain a little bit.
If you need, I know the Chief Warrant Officer for the cyberspace. They also do the cyber unit of the Army. I'll be more than happy to introduce her to him. He's a good friend of mine. He's also a fellow jarhead, right? He was
Nice.
Yeah, he never lets me forget that he was a Marine. Trust me.
Yeah, I was a Marine first. That's the way it always is, right?
Yeah. I'll be seeing him shortly. Like, I'm picking up marathons back again. I'm pretty much gonna be running with him every day. So I'll be more than happy to introduce you.
Yeah, my son's basically on almost the same route. He's at NKU right now. Just finished his 3rd year of criminal justice, but he's got a cybersecurity as his minor, and he's I can't say he's interning. He is a cadet for one of the local agencies, and
Nice.
Right now working, 3 days a week for local police force, and he's loving it right now. But yeah, he wants to go 3-letter agency or federal, right? I say 3-letter agency because, you know, Secret Service is out there with their uniform branch and some of those other ones that are out there, you know, Homeland Security, stuff like that. So, but yeah, he definitely wants to go the Fed route. He's talked to so many guys that are local, state, you know, the sheriff's department, and just outweighing, you know, not just the benefits, but, you know, the pay and the time and everything else to, you know, for retirement and stuff like that.
He's such an interesting deal because, I'll put it this way, a forensics expert that I hire here at the same level of law enforcement, I pay them way more than the law. And that's the hard part, because I'll have a forensics expert from local PDs or the FBI, and they're like, Rico, I want to come work for you. What's your starting salary? And I tell them, they're like, Jesus, fuck, man, I should have started this a while ago.
Yeah.
And so what I always tell the younger guys is, I'm like, hey, you really got to want to be a law enforcement. Like, you really got to want it, man. Just like the military, you got to be able to eat shit for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. That's, you know, I'm trying to convince her that there are other avenues out there. Like, I got a degree in criminal justice, and I work for a telecommunications company, but I don't do anything with my degree. And it's just like, criminal justice is one of those broad range fields out there. Like, it's depending on what you want to go in, you know, like you got computer forensics, you can be like a crime scene investigator. There's just so many, a paralegal, or, I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. But if you get just a degree in criminal justice, it's so broad that you have to narrow it down by taking a secondary. And it's just like, so I've been in telecommunications. Even when I was getting my degree, I started in telecommunications with a local cable company, and then I moved over to AT&T. And it's just like, man, why didn't I pursue, you know, something different within criminal justice? That way I could be doing cybersecurity and stuff like that. And it's just like, I wish I had of, but, you know, and I'm trying to set my daughter up for success. But she's got it in her head that she wants to go to the FBI. But, you know, if she talks to somebody else, and, you know, that is not mom or dad, because she, you know, she knows everything. You know, if she talks to somebody else and they're like, well, this is the route you need to go, then she might listen, you know. So, yeah, we'll definitely have to let her talk to you and say, hey, this is what Rico recommends, and see what she decides to do that from there.
I know the feeling.
I mean, 'cause if I can get her, you know, into, you know, doing something for digital forensics for a company outside of the military or outside of law enforcement, she's going to make a lot more money from the get-go, you know, right from the get. And she's going to be set up for the future, instead of doing, you know, here you're doing, you know, 4 years of college, 4 years of military, and then you get into the federal side of things, and then you got to start your career. You know, it's just like, you know, and then every time she starts over, you know, it starts over at the bottom of the list. So
I mean, the only thing on the Fed side is, you know, they still have the buyback, right? So she can buy back those 4 years that she spends in the Air Force, right? So she doesn't have to go her full term. You know, she can just, you know, get accounted for 4 years that she didn't have to really truly serve, but she did, but not in, you know. But yeah, it's just one of those deals. You know, Micah was the same way. He wanted to be local cop, and I'm talking to him, and, you know, I've got a lot of friends in every level of, you know, policing, and he talked to a guy down the street, and he goes, yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I'd go federal. And then he talked to a state trooper. Yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I'd go federal. Talked to a county sheriff friend of mine. Yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I'd go federal. I'm like, I've been telling you this since the beginning. You know, why does it take 3 dudes to tell you what I've been telling you for you to open your eyes and realize? But I mean, again, it's the parent, right? The parent doesn't know everything in the eyes of the kids, right? And it's especially the teenage kids. But, you know, my kids understand that I mean, probably yours too. You know, you have a lot of contacts in a lot of areas, and hey, let me just put you in contact with this person real quick, and you can talk to them. I don't even have to be in the room. You just have a conversation, ask them whatever you want to ask, right? And then it's like, Dad, you were right.
No shit.
I appreciate it. Say that again. Can you get your mother to say it? More importantly.
So you got boys. Your boys are going to be. Your boys will say, "Hey, Dad, you were right," quicker than my girls.
Absolutely,
say, hey, Dad, you're right. So,
absolutely.
You know,
they might tell you. They might tell your wife, "Hey, Dad was right," but don't let him know.
Oh hell. So what else has Mr. Rico been up to? I mean, you do a podcast. You want to talk about your podcast a little bit?
Yeah, so I was doing the Rico D show for a long time, and it was amalgamation between like bringing veterans to cybersecurity and also executive leadership. I recently, I'm in this weird area where I'm more so in the news now, as a national security advisor, having gone to a little bit of a war college and kind of understanding certain things like how to commence a battlefield plan, and also and carry out logistical operations along with battlefield operations. I find myself now advising NTD News, Newsmax, News Nation, so on and so on, as a national security advisor when these conflicts go off. When I went to Israel, I was like, I need to see this for the first time, for my own eyes. What is the conflict? And it's not what the news portrays. I want to see Ukraine. So I went to Kyiv and I was like, I want to see what this really looks like. Some of it is what is portrayed. So that's what I find myself being differentiated between the other national security advisors, because they talk about it in theory. I'm like, dude, you have no clue
but they've not been there.
No.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman, a 2-star I was just on NTD about with, and he was like, this is how it would work out. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, tanks can't go down that terrain. Your infantry is going to be bogged down in the mud for that time of weather. You're coming up on winter. This was last year. Your movement and mobility is going to be slow. I was like, yes, they have more bread, beans, and bullets, but the initiative is not there. And he was like, well, we disagree. I was like, absolutely, we disagree. So.
Which is fine, but tell him to go put boots in the ground and then come back and talk to you, right? And then he'd be like, Rico, you were right. It's just they listen to the intel that they're being fed to them, right, without seeing it firsthand. And it's like when I came back, so I spent 67 days in country before I got injured and came home, and I'm laying in the hospital bed and I'm listening to the news report. Only X amount of people showed up at this poll site to vote. Only X amount of people. With a country that has this many people, I'm like, stop. Time out. This is the first time that they've ever been able to voice their opinion on who they want, and they're walking around with a freaking purple ass thumb. I don't care if one person showed up. That one person took the initiative to say, hey, I want this change.
Yeah.
Is it the change that we wanted? No, but we're letting them have a change and a voice for themselves in their country. And I got so angry in the bed, and my nurse comes in. She goes, man, your blood pressure's up. I was like, these idiots. She unplugged my TV. I wasn't allowed to watch TV the rest of the time I was in the hospital.
That sounds about right. Yes.
Right. But especially having experienced it firsthand and, watching the people show up. And, we had, I think, two females get assigned to us during that period of time. One was a dog handler, and the other one was there to, pat down the females because we weren't allowed to touch them and their headdress and everything. But, and then we're getting mortared and we're getting rocket attacked, and it's not landing anywhere close. It's going way overhead, but still all this stuff is going on, and these people are still showing up. They're lining up before the polls even open, just like we do here in the States, but we don't have to walk around with a purple thumb saying I voted. All these idiots put a I voted sticker on themselves and take their selfie and post it online. Right. It's your civil duty to do that. You should do it. Yep. Why do you have to announce it? But, but I understand the purple thumb was for a different reason, right?
Liberation, yeah.
Yeah. So
it's have the significance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember running operations, carrying those boxes to Baghdad, and the amount of fire we were getting on those Mercedes-Benz, up armored Mercedes-Benz, man. I was like, this thing is, I want to buy one when I get home. But
right.
Yeah. And to me, whenever we would see the regular people with their fingers were like, hey, I voted, I'm like, dude, you guys got some fucking balls, man.
Yeah. And they weren't hiding it. They were just walking around, and there it is for a week and change that stayed that color. That dye stayed with them. And I'm like, not this guy. Hell no. I'd wear a pair of gloves and be like Michael Jackson, one glove in it, walking around, No way. Man.
So you also authored a book, if reading this correct.
Yeah, I have 9 books out.
9 books?
You authored a book. Come on, Will. Let's do your research.
Hey, well, so the bio that I have from podcast or
Dude,
pod
that's
grow. Yeah, they said one book. That's all it says on here. One book.
yeah. So last year I authored 3 books, right? And actually, I actually go back to the old school stuff, right? One is a no nonsense, no bullshit book of cybersecurity, how to get into cyber. Right? Then I created a field manual, and then I created a tactical manual. And for the lovely Marines, there are pictures in there, so just.
Is it written in crayon?
Red Crown.
Yeah, man, they sold out very quickly. If you guys want, please send me your address. I'll send it to you guys. I think
Absolutely.
it's more so you put on your coffee table. Like I wanted it to the point to where like you put this on your coffee table, and you're like, oh shit, that's actually pretty cool. And gentlemen, I'll send it to you guys. Not a problem. Give me a week.
Yeah.
Prior to that, so when I was in law school, I got out of law school. I actually helped start up a veteran court when I was in Phoenix, right? And we initialized this thing. We're like, hey, we're getting in our own way. Like we keep screwing up. Like let's bring like a local mental health, sober living, the VA, mental health services, and attorneys, right? So we all got together, and every Friday we would do this thing. And the one common denominator I noted, well, a couple of them was domestic violence, DUIs, and family court. The first 2 we can help with. The last one, it was like you are not allowed to touch, right? Because it's venue, right? And one of the things I was like, dude, there's this thing called the family industrial complex, right? Where as soon as a court gets a hold of you, like social services, rap services, and the list goes on, they get their hands in you, and the money just being drained out of the father predominantly. So I wrote a book called Battlefield Parenthood, and it's like, how do you stay involved into your son's life, for me, right? Or your child's life without really being there. And like, you do videos, you do Snapchats, you write letters, stuff like that. And that actually wound up being a resource they gave at a mental health facility in Phoenix, Arizona for 5 years. They're like, hey, here's your toothbrush, here's a book, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, the other one was a Rise of the Vetrepreneur, which was veteran entrepreneurs. I met the guy who originally owned Grunt Style, Daniel.
Oh yeah,
I know him pretty well. Met other like awesome entrepreneurs. I got into a few business deals. Didn't go well. Some did, some didn't. Got a few bars out of it. Sold those bars, and then did another one called the Rise of the Veteran Athlete, where I did a non-clinical quantitative study of veteran athletes, of what are the systematic mathematics of what consists of athletes.
Yeah,
and it was nothing. It was the one common denominator was grit. It was how gritty are you? And
grit and determination.
I met some cool people, man. Like I met the lady, she ran for the U.S. Air Force and represented in sprinting for the U.S. Olympics. I met the speed walker. I'm like, no way, that's not a real sport. He's like, yes. I got educated on that. I met her, like all these like body dude. And then this is interesting. Because I did that, I got introduced to the WWE, and then we did cybersecurity for the WWE. I was like,
nice.
Yeah. And there's a lot of veterans within the WWE, and they don't talk about it unless you, like for us, we had a list of celebrities, athletes, whatever, that were Marines at one point in time in their career, right? And it's like, oh, I didn't know that, this person was, or even, what's it? Tom Ilch from Domino's or Little Caesars or one of them, right? Was a Marine. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy that, some of the actors that you're like, never would have thought it.
Like Drew Carey.
Yeah. I mean, he was a Marine reservist, right? But he was still a Marine. He still had to go through the same recruit training. But yeah, if you look at his photo from when he was in, he was a stud.
Yeah.
It's like, never would have thought it.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman the same way. I never would have thought that he was a Marine, right?
I didn't do that. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's several actors out there that were jarheads, and it's just like, I never would have thought that.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
It just keeps on going. I mean, the dude that played Kylo Ren, I think he was an Army guy.
Driver.
Yeah, Adam Driver. He was an infantry guy. Shaggy was the Arty guy.
Yeah, C.C. Fletcher, he was in the Army, I think, and that dude's just, or he was huge back in the day, but like just an animal, man.
Yeah.
So it's crazy the amount of people that served and athletes that served, and even still, it's the same way. A lot of them still aren't coming out of college. I mean, heck, NASCAR teams are recruiting some of the guys from the special operations community just because they're very in shape. Yeah, and detail oriented.
Yeah.
I met a guy in Phoenix. He was representing the United States Army. He was also part of first group, but he wound up getting out for some odd reason. But he played video games for the Army, and I was like, that's not a real job. And he showed me. I was like, holy shit! Like for the United States Army, he's like, this is what I do. I'm like, okay,
man,
yeah.
But it's crazy, man, that the jobs that you can do, like the drone pilots, they do a lot of video gaming as well. The ones in the Air Force, and it's just like, okay, cool. It's but with social media nowadays, you never know who does what. Because there's, when we were in, we didn't have social media like they do now, but we were
thank
always
God.
yeah, right. They're like, don't post yourself in uniform and stuff like that. And when social media did come around, but now there are people on TikTok that's in full dress uniform, and they're sitting there talking about their day or whatever, and it's just like,
mass sergeants, master gunnies out there, just
warrant officers. It's just
it's crazy. I was like, no.
I remember having a conniption fit. He's like, your cell phone better be in this black case on your hip. I'm like, that's how far we got, guys. Oh shit! All right.
Yeah. Like when
the BlackBerry,
the BlackBerry. Or the old Nokia phones.
Yeah.
They couldn't even have them in your pockets and stuff like that. They're like, don't even have them on you while you're working. It's just like, and now everybody's got them, and they go everywhere with them, and it's just like,
well, we wouldn't know what to do if we didn't have it, right?
Yes.
I mean, I love going to Alaska because I unplug. Like when we go out to go fish, my phone, I mean, I take it with me for photos, but I don't get to answer anything because we're out in the middle of friggin' ocean somewhere, right? Can't even see land half the time. And then we come back in, and I'll check my email and stuff. And, I lost it coming back the other day at the airport. I'm like, what am I going to do? I lost my phone. And I called my wife. I'm like, hey, do the Find My. She goes, I'm not linked to your stuff. I was like, well, how am I supposed to find my phone? She goes, well, I bought you a watch. I was like, oh, yeah. So I pull it up. I'm like, how do I work this thing? And I pull it up, and I can hear my phone. Ding, 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 ding. I was like, it's here. And I'm like, nope, it's getting further away. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's my tendinitis. Oh, shit.
Found it.
The funny thing is, you said tetanitis, and it's like he's sitting there pinging it, and all of a sudden this tetanitis starts ringing. I lost it. I can't hear it.
It's like the friggin' hearing test, right?
Yep.
Oh hell. Oh man. So what else do you want to talk about that we haven't touched on yet? I mean, we've touched on a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think the season of life is actually to go live overseas for 2 years. There's a lot of business to be had over there, specifically in the cyberspace. And I'm noticing a lot of veterans in my community, right? They're like, hey, dude, what's it like living over there and wherever that is, right?
Right.
So I've set up shop in Jordan. Jordan, especially in the Boulevard area, is a very nice area. The King has allowed me 5% tax versus 25% tax. And then from there, I'll probably be going to Qatar and spend some time in Dubai and Singapore. I think I want to grow the thought process, the initiative for veterans to be like, hey, I can be an American and I can go work overseas for a little bit and I can come home. It's okay to be. I kind of want to break the dispelment of like, it's okay to be an American and go live abroad for a little bit and come back. It's okay, dude. Just because, like, I have a friend of mine, right? I'm Republican. My friend's a Democrat. He used to be a state representative. I'm like, we can still be friends, dude. It's okay. Like, I don't agree with anything you say, but like, it's okay, dude. So like, I think me and my wife can probably go live overseas for a little bit.
Nice.
So we got the guy that runs Clifford Ballman, who's an author, chief warrant officer. He's in Italy right now. He's living in Italy. I got a Navy friend that's in the Philippines right now, living overseas in the Philippines. And I was talking to my wife. We're getting ready to be empty nesters, and she wants to move to Florida. And I'm like, why not move overseas? I said, because there's countries that will pay us to go live there for a few years, and we could travel Europe and do all of the things over there, and then come back home stateside, and we can move to Florida if you want to. And hopefully one of these days she decides to do that, because I would love to go. I'd love to go to Italy, like live on the boot somewhere, or live in Malta, and then be able to travel all over the European countries and stuff like that. But we'll see what she decides to do.
Don't underestimate Airbnb in other countries, because, dude, that opened us up. Like when we went to Italy, we're like, hey, we're gonna go for 3 weeks, right? And we went to these cool places, and we're like, you really don't need to buy anything. You just rent, right? And just do that. Even they have these things like they have over here in the United States, Turo, but they have 2 cuts, right? You just get a little Vespa or whatever and just hang out, right? Like just enjoy life. Like,
I saw some videos on Bali where you can go over there. It's like you can get a nice like rental property for like $300 American, and it's fucking beautiful compared to here in America you pay $800, $900, $1,100
for a studio.
For a studio, and it's just like, dude, I'm going to Bali and live
so
like a
Bali. I used to live in Bali, man. Yeah, I used to live in Depanzar, and also there's this province called Karirari Popo, right? And what you're saying is very true. Like $600 in a very nice high rise, you're Gucci, man. And it's quiet, it's nice, it's nestled. You get your food, and then you might, for the first week, you might get the shits, but you'll be all right. I suggest you do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we take a cruise every year with our boys, and we try to go somewhere we haven't been, right? Or somewhere they haven't been. And to get them a more cultural experience other than friggin' McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King and White Castle and Applebee's. So, my youngest is a huge fan of Jamaican jerk chicken. Yep. If he could live anywhere right now, it's probably Jamaica, just to have jerk chicken every day. It's just the way he is. But I mean, even here in the States, right? There's so much to see. And we're taking them to Hawaii in December, and just to get that Polynesian experience, and just to see if they like it. And maybe once they leave, I mean, it's going to be hard pressed to talk to my wife into going anywhere other than something that's tropical. But maybe, just maybe, once next year we go to Europe, maybe.
Definitely recommend Greece, Italy, and the Azores. You'll probably like. I definitely recommend.
Yeah, been to Greece. We spent some time in Thessaloniki, so northeast Greece. I think we were there for like 20 something days doing a NATO exercise. But yeah, I loved it. I love Greece. I mean, there's a Greek restaurant here. They're straight from Greece, and they've got some of the best gyro and Slovaki, that I've ever had, other than being right there, baklava, all the good stuff, right?
So you bring up interesting perspective, because here's what I think, and this is one thing that I was always trying to encourage my veterans, is that my fellow veterans is the United States will always be the front runner. In my mind, it was always a front runner in leading the nations of the world, right? But if you go to Saudi Arabia right now, or you go to Qatar or whatever, like, dude, they are right there, and they're chomping at the bit. The technology's there. I would say, if you want to live your dream, let's just say it's in cyber, right? Because I'm a selfish dude, love cyber. Just because your dream is not happening here doesn't mean it can't happen there.
Yeah.
And I would say just keep an open mind. Like, hey, check it out, right?
Yeah. There's a major that I worked for, and I don't know if he's in the UAE or if he's in Qatar, but he's flying for one of the princes. But it's his professional pilot. And I'm like, bro, you were an Army guy that became a warrant officer that got commissioned in the Air Force, and now you're over here flying. I got another guy that flies for JetBlue, and I'm like, really? I mean, everybody looks right here, right at home, for jobs because they don't want to be away from their family. The same jobs that we have here, they have everywhere else. They're just might be called something different, right? And it's just you getting comfortable with not being able to see mom every Sunday.
Yeah,
that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, that's definitely what it boils down to, for sure. Well, is there anything else that you want to touch on that we haven't touched on?
No. Other than that, if you guys see me on the news quite a bit more, and possibly even trying to do my own film, that's it, man. Just heads down, focused.
Well, don't worry. I'm talking about a film. We had Nick Pomasino on. We can, if you're talking about doing a film, we could probably get you connected with him. I don't know if you know him or not, but so
He's
you
like,
never mind. Never
I don't
mind.
know him. I've never met him, but I know of him. Yeah.
Okay, well, we had him on the show, and he was talking about his new TV series that they have out called Office Joe,
Yep.
and then Hollywood Hurd was another Navy veteran that we've talked to several times, and he's a big time director up there in Hollywood. So yeah, we could probably get you connected with them if you want. We can do an introduction, with those guys. But no, man. We will definitely shoot you our email or our addresses and stuff like that, because I'd love to have a couple of your books to add to the collection back here, because I got several author books, and then I'd love to have my daughter read them because like she's definitely going into that field.
yeah,
And I want her to broaden her horizons, or her broaden her
yeah,
horizon, and because I don't want her just to be stuck in a rut and not use her criminal justice degree. I want her to see what's available out there and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for that, and want to thank you for coming on here and hanging out with us for this hour.
yeah. I mean, especially today, take the time away from your family, and yeah, it means a lot to both of us for you to take that time and come on for sure.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor. I'm always here to be of service.
Heck yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, we're going to drop you in the green room if you want to hang around. We can give you our addresses after we close it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Rock and roll.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
How cool was that, Mr. Gunny?
Man, I tell you, knowing some of the things that I know about my inner circle, and I would just love to just sit down with him. No camera, no listening device, none of that, and just listen to some of the the things that he's experienced doing what he's doing, and the whole cyber piece. I mean, we were involved in a thing last year, and we got it tracked all the way back to somewhere in Africa. I mean, we got a phone call from I think it was a sheriff or something up in northern New Jersey, and yeah, it was friggin' crazy, man. But they tracked it all back, and just trying to get them extradited on certain things, and it's just crazy. But yeah, it's just that's something that when I got out, they wanted to send me to Meade to do the cybersecurity stuff, and I'm like, listen, I am getting ready to get out. I'm getting ready to retire. I don't know when my package is going to come back, but I mean, I still somewhere here got the certificate from taking the friggin' online course or whatever that I had to take. But yeah, it's just we've known for a long time that cybersecurity was going to be the way, right?
Yeah.
And talking to my friends that I have that are in that realm, it is for them, right? And they're educating other agencies and people and countries on that.
So I've seen like the online cybersecurity and stuff like that, and for veterans, and with me having my degree in criminal justice, I'm like, man, should I just go ahead and fill out the information and see what's out there, what's available? Because for one, I love computers, and I love the inner workings of the computer and the internet itself, and it's just like, man, that's something that would pique my interest, very much so, because I love doing in the early or the late 90s, I was doing computer programming and stuff like that, making apps and stuff like that when they first came out, making boot bots and stuff like that for like the Yahoo chat rooms and stuff. And it's just like, man, do I want to get back into that? And here I am, 47 years old. Do I want to get back into that? Do I want to make a change in life? But
I'm staying retired, brother. Period.
Right. What's
up,
Mr. Rich LaMonica?
Hey, Rich, I'm going to get in touch with you. I'm going to be down your way Thursday. But yeah, no, I mean, I work more now than I did when I was active duty. I deploy more now than I did when I was active duty, and I'm retired. But yeah, no, I'm going to stay where I'm at. I'm comfortable. We're comfortable here in the Deeds house. Let's just say that, if I want to travel, I can travel. If I want to take that time off, I don't have to report to a boss or anything like that. I can just go and do whatever I need to do.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking, so I got a few years left at AT&T to retire. And then when I retire from there, I'm like, well, what's my next thing that I could possibly get into? If I get into cybersecurity, I can do that from home. I don't have to be, report to an office somewhere. Yeah, granted, I might have to every now and then, but hopefully I could get into something where I could pretty much do everything from the house and go
Get to 100%. You don't have to worry about it.
I know. I'm
That's all
working.
I'm
I'm
saying.
60. Hey,
That's all
I'm
I'm
at
saying.
60. I'm 60 now. I just got 60, so now I gotta get up to the rest of it, the 40 extra.
Well, it took me 11 years. So keep fighting. Keep fighting.
I've been very lucky. So I started last year, and I'm already at 60%. So I'm like, all right, I'm blessed so far. Granted, I do have some things that they just recently gave me a 0% rated, but now it's rated.
But it's still rated.
But it's still rated. And then the other things like my ankles, my knees, and my back, they're like, oh, that you wrote pain instead of injury. It's just like, okay, bro. So I got to get some letters. I think me and you talked about it offline about getting a buddy letter saying, hey, this is some things. So got to look into that, because I know for a fact that having my knee replaced at 46 years old and have the other knee ready to be replaced, and then my ankles and my back, that's all Marine Corps related, because it's from carrying the rucksack on our back and the rifle and all the ammo and shit that we carried and all the running that we did. So definitely got to get all that in there, and then my bilateral hearing loss and stuff like that. So there's just things that I got to do to dot my I's and cross my T's, and I'll get that. I'll get 100%. And I'm not stopping. I mean, it's not going to stop until I do get the 100%, because it's something that I think every veteran out there should strive to get. Kind of like what Ranger Johnson said, you join the Millionaires Club when you get 100%. So it's
you do, but you got to make sure that you're not BS in the system, right? And I think I mean, after 40 something surgeries, I was still at 90%, 80 and 90%. And it's like, dude, seriously, this is all freaking combat related, not just service related, but combat related. And you're not gonna push that envelope to get me that other 10%. So and it's crazy, man. It's just so freaking stupid that the hoops that people have to jump through because so many people have worked the system.
So that letter that you wrote for the sinusitis, they said they denied the sinusitis, but gave me rhinitis at 0%. It's just like, okay. So, and then sleep apnea, they denied that too. So now I got to figure out how to piggyback that with there's just some things. So I'm going to be reaching out to Ranger Rick or Ranger Johnson and Gino and say, hey, this is where I'm sitting at. And I'll probably have to get DAV to release me, because they have the power of attorney right now because of because they were helping me, but we'll figure all that out. But today's Memorial Day. Now we're going to think about our brothers and sisters that are no longer here. And like I said, if we remember the names and we say their names, then they're
I'm just gonna my memory sucks, right? But Olson, Postal, Brzezinski, Mahdi, Baldwin, Schmidt, Miniger, Gunny Ball, man, that dude was a Marine's Marine. He was a great friend, great mentor. Pummel, Bizel, Mac came to us after our first deployment. He was a sniper, and he came downstairs to us, and he was the first person to congratulate me when I pinned on Staff Sergeant. Became a great friend, great mentor. Procopio, Kim, Doc Padilla, Edwards, Sims, James, Richard James. He was in the back of a 7-ton. We were doing a training exercise down at Bragg, and I said, "What's your name?" He says, "Richard James," and I'm like, "I'm Rick James, bitch," not realizing our sergeant major's name was Ricky James. I was Sergeant Deeds is gonna get in trouble. Lucas, White, Baker, Ramon, Sanchez, Roos, Murray, Thompson, Warndorf. Man, I put Warndorf in the Marine Corps. I was his recruiter and served with him in 3-8, and he was killed a couple weeks before coming home from that third combat deployment. Dudley, and then the guys from Mogadishu, Gary Gordon. Now again, he's from 13 miles from where I grew up. 1993, I'm a freshman in high school. I remember his procession coming home. A year later, his widow was presented with his Medal of Honor. Shugart, Martin, Fillmore, Ryerson, Bush, Frank, Walcott, Briley. I was just last week out in Northwest Arkansas and made a 3-hour trip down to North Little Rock and placed a Mogadishu Mile coin on his marker, and his widow responded, "Are you still in the area?" And I'd already driven the 3 hours back up to the Northwest sector. Cleveland, Field. Tommy Field is from Maine. I had no clue. He's from Southern Maine. I had no clue until a couple years ago that there was another guy from Maine that was killed during the battle. Joyce, Pila, Ruiz, Smith, Cavaco, Kowalewski, Houston, Martin. And then, there's just Fitz, man. 15 years ago today, he lost his battle with his demons. He was my first roommate. And man, for 3 years, he was my roommate.
Yeah.
Casey Owens. There's a picture that floats around every year of a double amputee in a wheelchair, but he's got himself propped up saluting, and that's Casey. Man, my team fast tracks teammate Ron Condry, Lieutenant Colonel Hart, Heather Bowling, Sergeant Major Shine was our first sergeant.
Yep.
Big Hoss Hendricks, Rory Hamill, and Mike Skinner. Man, those guys and girls right there are always at the forefront of my mind every freaking day. It's not just today.
Amen. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. First Sergeant Shine, Lance Corporal Wolf, Fitz, all of these guys that we served with, or even just not even just served with, but like people that we've came in contact with over the years.
Yeah.
That lose their fight with the demons, or were KIA. It's just.
There's so many family. That whole row of coins right there are all Gold Star families. The Zanowicks, the Morrisons. Who else is up there? Good Lord, there's so many. It's Anderson, Burgess, the Groves, Arishaga, Mullins. There's so many. I've met so many families that I've come to know and love, through the team or through other events that, lost their loved ones either, here at home or overseas. But yeah, that those families are always on my mind, all day, every day. You look at the dates, you look at the dates these guys and girls passed away, and it's not Memorial Day.
Yeah.
It's all throughout the year.
Yeah. You got to honor and remember their names.
Absolutely.
Their memory will never be lost if you honor and remember and say their names.
Yep.
Whether you say it in prayer or you say it out loud, as long as you honor and remember, their memory will never be forgotten. Yeah, that's a hard one to follow, Gunny.
I think we just close the show with that, man. I don't think we need to do our regular.
No,
stuff.
I'm right there with you, brother. I think it's like we always say on HomeFront Sitrep, stay safe out there. We got your six. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.
Stay safe out there. I got your six.